The perfect wedding that hid a dark truth. Dubai glittered that night. The Burj Khalifa loomed in the distance, its lights shimmering across the skyline like diamonds in the desert. Inside the lavish ballroom of a five-star hotel, friends and family raised their glasses in celebration. It was the wedding of Adil Rahman, a respected young businessman, and Layla Khan, a stunning bride whose elegance turned every head in the room. From the outside, their union looked like the perfect fairy tale. Adil, 32, came from a wealthy family known for real estate and trading. Layla, 28, was admired for her beauty and poise, said to come from a well-to-do family in Karachi. Guests whispered about how lucky Adil was to find a woman so graceful, and how radiant Layla looked as she danced in her glittering bridal gown. But beneath the gold and champagne smiles, something darker was lurking. Earlier that evening, Adil's cousin Samir had approached him with a troubled face. "Adil, can I speak with you privately?" he asked. At first, Adil brushed it off. It was his wedding night after all. But Samir insisted. Pulling him aside, he whispered words that made Adil's heart pound. "I know this woman, Adil. I've seen her before in Karachi." "She's not who she says she is." Adil froze. His cousin's tone wasn't one of gossip, but of fear. Samir claimed that years ago, Layla had lived under a different name, and her past was filled with secrets that could destroy Adil's family honor. Still, Adil laughed it off, at least outwardly. "You're mistaken," he said firmly. "She's my wife now. That's all that matters." But inside, doubt began to gnaw at him. As the party raged on, Adil's mind swirled. He glanced at Layla across the room, her smile wide, her laughter echoing like music. Could this beautiful woman really be hiding a life he knew nothing about? Later that night, in the luxurious hotel suite prepared for them, Adil couldn't hold back anymore. "Layla," he said, his voice trembling, "tell me the truth. Who are you, really?" At first she laughed, thinking it was just nerves. But Adil's face was pale, his eyes sharp. He repeated his question louder this time. "What are you hiding from me?" Layla's hand shook as she set down her jewelry. She turned away, tears welling in her eyes. "Adil, please," she whispered. "The past is gone. It doesn't matter now. You only need to know who I am today." But Adil's patience snapped. "Don't play games with me. If there's something I need to know, you will tell me, now." The room grew tense, the silence so thick it was suffocating. Finally, Layla admitted fragments of her past. Stories of a troubled youth in Karachi, a different name, and connections she had tried to bury forever. But she left out the darkest parts, hoping Adil would never uncover them. For Adil, it was too late. The fairy tale had already shattered. He felt deceived, humiliated, and furious that on the very night he should be celebrating love, he was drowning in betrayal. Neither of them knew it yet. But that night, what was supposed to mark the beginning of a lifelong journey, would end in tragedy. Because by sunrise, only one of them would still be alive. Whispers of the past, the suite was silent, except for the faint hum of the city outside. Adil stood near the window, his back turned to Layla, staring at the glowing Dubai skyline. His reflection on the glass looked like that of a stranger, hard, hollow, and betrayed. Behind him, Layla sat on the edge of the king-sized bed, her hands trembling in her lap. She could feel the weight of his suspicion pressing down on her. She had managed to keep her past buried for years, but now, on the one night she wanted to start fresh, the ghosts of her history had clawed their way back. "Adil," she said softly, her voice breaking, "I never wanted to lie to you." He turned sharply, his face shadowed. "But you did. You walked into my family's home, into my life, carrying secrets. Do you realize what people will say if this comes out?" His voice rose, a mix of anger and panic. Layla's eyes welled up. "I didn't lie. I only left things out. My past is painful, Adil. I was someone else once, but I'm not that woman anymore. I thought if I buried it, I could finally live." Adil's jaw tightened. His mind replayed Samir's warning from earlier that night. I've seen her before. She's not who she says she is. He wanted to dismiss it, but now, faced with Layla's half-admissions, the puzzle pieces were beginning to fit. What name did you live under before? He asked coldly. Layla froze. Her lips quivered, but no sound came out. She looked away, as if the very act of speaking her old name might summon demons from the past. I asked you a question, Adil thundered, slamming his fist against the dresser. The sound echoed through the suite like a gunshot. Finally, Layla whispered, Nita. The name hung in the air like poison. Adil stared at her. Nita? Who is Nita? What did she do? Tears rolled down her cheeks. Please, Adil, don't make me relive it. It was years ago. I was young, desperate. I made mistakes I paid for. But I changed. I became Layla, the woman you fell in love with. Her words were pleading, but to Adil they felt like daggers. His wife, the woman he had introduced to his parents with pride, the woman whose hand he had just placed rings on, had lived a life he knew nothing about. The worst part wasn't even what she confessed, but what she refused to confess. Adil could sense it. There was more, buried beneath layers of shame and fear. Something so dark that even on her wedding night she couldn't bring herself to say it out loud. You're hiding something bigger, he accused, his voice low and dangerous. Tell me or I swear. Before he could finish, the hotel room phone rang. Both of them jolted at the sound. Adil hesitated, then picked it up. It was Samir. His voice was urgent. Adil, listen to me. You need to be careful. This isn't just about a name. I heard stories back in Karachi about a girl named Nita who disappeared after getting mixed up with the wrong people. She was linked to scandals, things that could ruin reputations. Are you sure you know who you've married? Adil's hand gripped the receiver so tightly his knuckles turned white. He glanced at Layla, who now looked pale, her body rigid with fear. Samir's words echoed in his head like a curse. After hanging up, Adil turned back to her. What scandals? He demanded. Layla shook her head violently. No, don't listen to him. Samir hates me. He wants to break us apart. He doesn't know the truth. But her denial sounded rehearsed, too desperate, and that only fueled Adil's suspicions further. He began pacing the room, his mind a storm of rage and confusion. The shame of being deceived in front of his family burned deep. He thought of his parents, his uncles, his cousins, all who trusted his choice, and now it felt like he had been made a fool. Do you know what honor means in my family? He muttered, more to himself than to her. Do you know what this could do to us? Layla stood, her voice trembling but firm. Adil, I love you. That's all that matters. Don't let the past destroy what we could have. I came to you with nothing but my heart. Please believe me. But Adil's mind was already slipping into darker places. To him, love was not enough to erase betrayal. The clock ticked toward midnight. The wedding night, meant to mark the start of a lifetime together, had become a battlefield of accusations and secrets. In that moment, Adil made a silent vow. He would uncover every hidden truth about his new wife. And if the past she tried so hard to bury threatened to ruin him, he would do whatever it took to protect his name, even if it meant ending the marriage before it truly began. And in the silence that followed, Layla knew. She could feel it in the air. Their love story was no longer about beginnings. It was about survival. A trail of secrets. The night had grown heavier, the air inside the suite thick with tension. Neither Adil nor Layla slept. He sat stiffly in an armchair by the window, his eyes burning holes into the skyline. She lay on the bed, curled on her side, her face wet with silent tears. The distance between them, just a few feet, felt like miles. At dawn, Adil slipped out of the room without a word. Layla jolted awake at the sound of the door. Panic gripped her. Where is he going? Who is he talking to? He wasn't gone long. By breakfast he returned, his face grim, his phone clutched tight in his hand. Layla could sense it immediately. He had found something. He tossed a printed document onto the bed. Care to explain this? Her heart sank as she glanced at the paper. It was a copy of an old news clipping from Karachi. The headline read, "Mystery woman linked to high-profile nightclub raid disappears without a trace." The article spoke of a young woman named Nida Akram, who was seen in the company of powerful businessmen, caught during a police raid in Karachi. She had vanished before charges could be pressed. The report hinted at illegal dealings, shady associations, and rumors that she had been protected by people with influence. Layla's face drained of color. She recognized the photo in the clipping immediately. It was her, younger, thinner, her eyes full of desperation. Adil's voice was cold. "So it's true. You lied about everything. About your family, your past, your name. You were Nida, the woman who disappeared." Layla swallowed hard, fighting to speak. "I wasn't involved in what they accused me of. I was just caught in the wrong place, with the wrong people. I ran because I was scared. I had no one to protect me, so I left it all behind and became Layla, the woman you married." But Adil was no longer listening. The shame pressed down on him like a vice. To him, this wasn't just about Layla. It was about what it meant for his family. A wife with such a past could tarnish everything he had worked for. "You should have told me before I married you," he snapped. "And then what?" She shot back, her voice trembling but defiant. "Would you have loved me? Or would you have walked away like everyone else?" "I wanted a second chance, Adil. I thought you could give it to me." Her words hung in the air, raw and painful, but Adil's silence was louder. By afternoon, whispers began to circle. Samir had wasted no time. He told a few cousins what he knew, and by evening, Adil's phone buzzed constantly with messages from concerned relatives. "Is it true? Who is this woman you've married?" The weight of dishonor was closing in. That evening, Adil confronted Layla again, his anger boiling over. "Do you realize what you've done? My family will never forgive me. They will never forgive you." Tears streamed down her face. "Then let's leave, Adil. Let's start over somewhere else, just you and me. Forget Dubai. Forget your family's name. We can disappear like I once did. This time together." For a brief moment, her words touched something in him. Adil looked into her eyes and saw not just the woman with a tainted past, but someone desperate for love, for redemption. But then Samir's voice echoed in his head. "She's not who she says she is." Doubt won again. Later that night, Adil reached out to someone he thought could help him uncover the rest of the truth. Inspector Farah Malik, a family acquaintance in Dubai's police force. He invited her discreetly to the hotel lounge. Farah, sharp-eyed and calculating, listened carefully as Adil explained. She frowned at the name Nida Akram. "I've heard whispers about her," Farah said. "She vanished from Karachi years ago. Some say she was connected to smuggling networks. Others claim she had relationships with men who used her for leverage. If this is your wife, then you've married into danger." The words chilled Adil to his core. "Find out everything," he ordered. "I need to know exactly who I brought into my life." Farah nodded, promising discretion. But she warned him. Secrets like these don't stay buried without reason. If she's been hiding, there are people who wanted her hidden. By digging, you may uncover more than you bargained for. Meanwhile, upstairs in the suite, Layla sensed something was shifting. She felt it in the way Adil looked at her, like she was no longer his bride but a stranger under investigation. Fear gripped her heart. She picked up her phone and dialed a number she hadn't called in years. Her estranged sister, Nadia Khan. "Nadia, it's me," she whispered, her voice cracking. On the other end, silence. Then a cold reply. "You shouldn't have called. You promised you'd never contact me again." "I had no choice," Layla pleaded. "He knows. Adil knows. Please, help me." But Nadia's voice was firm. "I warned you, Layla. You can't outrun the past. If Adil digs too deep, he won't just destroy you. He'll destroy himself. Stay away from me." The line went dead. Layla sank to the floor, clutching her phone, sobbing. She realized then, no matter how much she tried to escape, her past would always catch her. And now, with Adil pulling at the threads, it was only a matter of time before everything unraveled. Little did she know, her fate had already been sealed, because the truth Adil was chasing would not only ruin her, it would cost her life. The breaking point. The golden lights of Dubai shimmered outside the hotel suite, but inside the atmosphere was suffocating. Adil had not spoken a kind word to Layla in days. Their wedding night, the moment meant to bond them forever, had instead turned into the beginning of a silent war. Inspector Farah Malik had kept her promise. She sent Adil discreet updates about her findings, each one heavier than the last. Every message felt like a stone placed on his chest. Message 1, confirmed. Layla Khan's real identity is Nida Akram, disappeared from Karachi 6 years ago. Message 2. She was connected to a businessman under investigation for smuggling. Rumors say she was used as a front for illegal transactions. Message 3. Be careful, Adil. If she ran, someone dangerous might still be looking for her. Adil read the texts over and over, his mind unraveling. He felt trapped, caught between protecting his family's name and the fear of what Layla's secret ties might bring into their lives. Layla, on the other hand, grew more restless with each passing hour. She knew Adil was digging, and she knew what he would eventually find. Every time he left the room, she sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her phone, half expecting a call from someone she once knew, someone who could finish the job her past had started. That night, Adil finally confronted her with the evidence. He tossed Farah's report onto the bed. So it's true. You weren't just some innocent girl caught in a raid. You were part of it. You were hiding for a reason. Layla's hands shook as she picked up the papers. I wasn't part of it, Adil. I was a pawn. They used me, dragged me into places I never belonged. When the raid happened, I ran because I was scared. I didn't know where else to go. Then why not tell me before we married? He shot back. His voice was cold, controlled, but his fists clenched at his sides. Why let me stand before my family and promise them a woman who doesn't even exist? Layla's eyes brimmed with tears. Because I loved you. Because I wanted one part of my life to be pure. For once, I wanted to be more than the mistakes I made. I wanted to be yours, but Adil's heart was already hardened. The shame of being deceived burned hotter than any love he once felt. Later that evening, Adil met with Samir in secret. They sat in the shadow of a cafe terrace, the city buzzing around them. You can't keep her, Samir said bluntly. If people find out she's that woman, your reputation is finished. The family's name will be dragged through the mud. What am I supposed to do? Adil asked, his voice hoarse. Samir leaned in. End it before it destroys you. Quietly, cleanly, before she ruins everything. The words cut deep. Adil had thought of it before but never dared to say it out loud. Hearing Samir voice it so plainly made it feel inevitable. When Adil returned to the hotel, Layla rushed to him. She had been waiting, pacing the room in anxiety. Adil, please, let's leave Dubai. Let's go anywhere, start fresh. I'll be whoever you want me to be. Just don't let this tear us apart. For the first time in days, he looked at her with something other than anger. There was sadness in his eyes now, a quiet sorrow that she mistook for forgiveness. She stepped closer, resting her hand gently on his chest. But Adil's thoughts were no longer about love. They were about escape, about honor, about survival. At midnight, Inspector Farah called him again. Her tone was urgent. Adil, I need you to listen. If your wife is Nida Akram, she may still be in danger. People she crossed could be searching for her. If you act rashly, you'll not only ruin yourself, you'll draw attention from dangerous men. Please don't do anything foolish. But Adil's mind was past reasoning. He thanked her curtly and ended the call. He turned to Layla, who was watching him nervously. Tell me, Layla, If the past came back for you, would you run again? Her lips trembled. No. Not if you're with me. Adil nodded slowly, his jaw tightening. Then maybe you'll finally stop running tonight. Her smile faltered. Something in his tone chilled her to the bone. Hours later, guests at the hotel would remember hearing muffled shouting from the Rahman suite. A neighbor said he thought he heard glass shatter. Another claimed he heard a woman's voice crying, begging, but no one dared to intervene. After all, it was a newlywed couple. It wasn't their business. By the time dawn broke, the suite was eerily silent. Laila Khan, the bride who had walked into her wedding draped in jewels and hope, would never walk out alive. And Adil Rahman, now standing over her lifeless body, realized that in trying to protect his honor, he had destroyed everything. But the nightmare wasn't over, because Inspector Farah, already suspicious of his silence, was coming for answers. And she wasn't going to stop until she uncovered the truth. The final truth. The hotel suite was silent, save for the faint hum of the air conditioning. Adil stood frozen, staring at the lifeless body of his bride sprawled across the bed. Her eyes, once pleading and alive, were now glassy and still. Blood stained the ivory sheets, a stark contrast to the golden glow of the Dubai sunrise filtering through the curtains. For a long moment, he couldn't breathe. He told himself it wasn't murder. It was desperation, anger, a loss of control. But deep inside he knew. He had crossed the line. There was no going back. By mid-morning, the hotel was buzzing. Staff whispered nervously. Police cars arrived discreetly to avoid scandal, and guests craned their necks for a glimpse of what had happened. Inspector Farah Malik arrived swiftly, her sharp eyes scanning every detail of the room. She had suspected trouble, but not this. "Where is the husband?" she demanded. Adil sat in a corner, his clothes disheveled, his hands trembling. He stared at the floor, unable to meet her gaze. Farah crouched down in front of him. "Adil, tell me what happened. Don't make me find out the hard way." He opened his mouth, but no words came. His throat burned, his chest heavy. Finally, he muttered, "It wasn't supposed to end like this." The investigation moved quickly. The scene told its own story. Broken glass, bruises on Layla's wrists, signs of a struggle. Forensic officers took photographs, collected fingerprints, bagged evidence. Farah's instincts told her this was no crime of passion. It was bigger. She dug into Layla's background and confirmed what she already knew. Layla Khan was once Nida Akram, the missing woman from Karachi. The discovery changed everything. Farah met privately with Adil. "You killed her because of her past, didn't you? You couldn't live with the shame." His jaw clenched. "You don't understand. She lied to me, to my family. Everything it was a mask." Farah leaned closer, her voice sharp. "And did Samir push you into this? Did he whisper in your ear about family honor? About ending it before it ruined you?" Adil flinched. He hadn't expected her to know about Samir's influence. "Samir isn't innocent in this," Farah continued. "He wanted her gone. But the blood is on your hands, Adil." As the case unfolded, another figure reappeared. Nadia Khan, Layla's estranged sister. She flew in from Karachi after hearing the news, her face a mask of grief and anger. At the police station, Farah questioned her gently. "Nadia, what do you know about your sister's past?" Nadia sighed, her eyes heavy with old memories. "Laila Nida wasn't a criminal. She was a victim. When our father died, she fell in with the wrong crowd. Powerful men used her, made her their pawn. She ran because she wanted freedom. That's why she changed her name, why she built a new life. She didn't deserve this." Farah's expression hardened. "And Adil killed her for it." Nadia turned to Adil, who sat behind the glass of the interrogation room. Her voice shook with fury. "She loved you despite everything. You could have saved her. Instead, you became the final prison she couldn't escape." The trial was swift. The prosecution painted Adil as a man obsessed with reputation, driven to kill by pride and shame. The defense tried to argue temporary madness, provocation, betrayal, but the evidence was too clear. Samir was called to testify. On the stand, he admitted to warning Adil about Layla's past, but denied encouraging murder. Still, his words exposed the toxic weight of family honor that had fueled the crime. Inspector Farah's testimony was the nail in the coffin. Calm and precise, she detailed the timeline, the evidence, the history. She told the court what everyone already suspected. This was not just a crime of passion. This was a calculated act of control, a decision made to protect a name rather than a life. The verdict came, guilty of murder. Adil Rahman was sentenced to life in prison. His family name, once so respected, now carried the stain of scandal. Samir distanced himself, but whispers in the community never ceased. Nadia returned to Karachi carrying her sister's ashes. At her graveside, she whispered, "You wanted freedom, Layla. I hope you finally found it." Inspector Farah closed the file months later, but the case stayed with her. It wasn't just another murder. It was a reminder of how pride, lies, and fear could turn love into tragedy. For Dubai, the case became a cautionary tale. The story of a bride whose past was too heavy for her marriage to bear, and a groom who chose death over truth. And for viewers of the news, it was one haunting headline that lingered. Newlywed bride murdered on wedding night, her secret past revealed too late. A Dubai groom discovers his new bride's shocking secret on their wedding night. And by morning, she's dead. What truth was so dark it led to murder?